So, Johnson, when you gonna tell me how you made it back home in one piece?
Sorry, Guns. It's classified.
Hey guys, how are ya? Sergeant Johnson has long been one of Halo's most important and memorable characters. Though a fan favorite, he was never truly fleshed out within the games. Certain questions arose surrounding his background, career in the UNSC, and perhaps most notably, his ability to reincarnate after being killed so many times in Combat Evolved. On a serious note, there were some plot holes born from the distance between games chronologically. These have since been patched up, but since some are still out of the loop, let's talk about the most glaring issue. How did Johnson survive Alpha Halo? Johnson has had a long and admirable career within the UNSC, having been the first human to kill a member of the Covenant even. But Johnson's expertise not only lies in his personal skill, but a military project that, believe it or not, predated the Spartan 2 program. He was involved in a preliminary project called Orion, which later became shorthanded as Spartan 1. This program offered him a very beneficial suite of biological augmentations, most notably his enhanced combat skill. In the future, I'd like to make a fully sufficient recount of Johnson's overall history, but in an effort to streamline to the question at hand, we'll begin toward the end of the Battle of Reach. Cole Protocol had already been enacted by this point. The policy stated that any human ships in danger of being infiltrated or captured by the Covenant were to completely erase all data from their ships, then plot an exit course consisting of random slip-spaced jumps before returning to another human colony. This was most notably done in order to preserve Earth's location as a secret. It was this very policy that sent Johnson and a few Marines, Wallace Jenkins, Vicente, and O'Brien, to a ship floating in Reach's orbit. They were sent aboard to destroy nav data that had not yet been wiped, as the previous crew was killed beforehand. With Reach just having been destroyed, they could not afford revealing Earth's location. They would have died on board had it not been for Master Chief's opposition of Captain Keyes' decision to nuke the ship from afar. John and his fellow Spartan Linda boarded and assisted the squad in destruction of the nav data. They then escaped aboard the Pillar of Autumn from Reach's orbit. After being in slipspace for some time, the ship crossed an artificial presence in space, which prompted Cortana to awaken Keyes from his cryopod. Soon after, the entire crew was awakened on Combat Alert Alpha, including one Sergeant Avery Johnson.
I don't care if it's God's own anti-son of a bitch machine or a giant hula hoop. We're not gonna let them have it. What we will let them have is a belly full of lead and a pool of their own blood to drown in. Am I right, Marines?
Sir, yes, sir!
Damn right I am. Now move it out. Double time.
The Halo ring was in sight. The Covenant also blipped into space right beside them and began boarding their ship. After a valiant defense, the crew was forced to escape via life pods toward the Halo installation. Johnson's squads were scattered all through the valley, on the ring's surface, holing up in foreigner structures as they did their best to repel Covenant forces. As the Master Chief saved these squads, they were evacuated by Foehammer's Pelican toward Alpha Base, a makeshift base of operations centered around the Pillar of Autumn's crash site. After regrouping and assessing the situation at Alpha Base, Johnson was asked to join Captain Keyes on a mission. A Covenant elite had been captured and spoke of a weapons cache in a swamp-like area on the ring world. Hearing similar chatter on the Covenant BattleNet, Captain Keyes decided that they needed to get there first. Upon arrival, Keyes, Johnson, and their Marine squad were shocked to find Covenant bodies scrambled and destroyed.
Which is weird, right? I mean, look at it. Something scrambled the insides.
What's that? Plasma scoring?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there was an accident, friendly fire or something?
What do we have, Sergeant? Looks like a Covenant patrol. Badass elite units. All KIA.
Real pretty. Friend of yours?
Nah, we just met.
They ventured deeper into the foreigner structure and were surprised with an ambush of Flood infection forms. As the Flood slowly overtook his squad, Johnson was forced to put them down and run for his life. He later met with Lieutenant Haverson of Oni, an ODST named Locklear, and a pilot named Pulaski. They fled the ring together on a Pelican, only moments before its destruction. The Covenant was no problem for Johnson, but what about the Flood? How could he survive them? This was the exact question the Master Chief had upon seeing him again. After John and Cortana destroyed Halo, they escaped the Pillar of Autumn on board a longsword fighter and fled into space. Cortana scanned the area multiple times, but found nothing. Chief had her scan again. Directly after this conversation, Covenant ships spotted them, but not before a Pelican shot out from a meteor and confused the enemy. Master Chief contacted the Pelican, piloted by Pulaski of Johnson's ragtag squad. The two ships maneuvered around the gas giant threshold nearby and found a moment of respite. The Pelican docked below John's longsword and made a secure connection to the hatch. The first person to climb out was none other than the man himself, Avery Johnson. The Chief grabbed Johnson's pistol from him and flipped it around, shoving the barrel to Johnson's head. He shoved him against the wall of the longsword. "You were dead," he said. "I watched you die. On Jenkins's mission record. The flood got you." Johnson played it off until John was satisfied that he wasn't infected, then pulled the rest of the crew on board. Later on, in secret, Johnson's medical records were reviewed, prompting John and Halsey to come to certain conclusions. He had flood cells in his system, but they were dormant, only resisted by Bourne syndrome, a disease Johnson acquired while once on an operation, where he intercepted a large amount of Covenant plasma weaponry. The resultant radiation caused his nervous system to be too unstable for the flood to infect, or so they thought. It wasn't due to this Bourne syndrome cover-up, which was concocted and planted in the medical record by Oni, but for his original experience with the Orion project. However, not quite in the way that you'd expect. The augmentations didn't render him immune, but instead caused him to be more in tune to his strategic situations. Basically, Johnson survived because he was a certified badass, dodging and destroying the flood at every turn. If Johnson had not survived, the Human Covenant War would have ended with Delta Halo's firing in Halo 2. Avery Johnson was an integral part of the Human-Sangheili truce. Were it not for him stealing a Scarab and guiding the Arbiter, Tartarus would most likely have succeeded in firing the ring, bringing a swift end to that portion of the galaxy's life. And I'd also like to add that while hilarious, the legendary ending of Halo 1 is not canon. I just figured I'd cover my bases on that real quick. So there you have it. Did you expect any less of Sergeant Johnson? Thanks for watching, guys. It means a ton. If you liked the video, consider subscribing and clicking the like button. Each bit helps the channel grow. That's all for today, guys. I'll catch you later.